All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that is actually the case as we clank on this fine Thursday. We've got quite a bit of significant news to cover. I dropped the story with regards to the potential freight showdown, a potential strike of the train-related labor unions, because it looks like there is a preliminary deal that has been reached to avoid that, which is great because that would have completely disrupted fucking everything in the U.S. economy. We're talking Biden would have plausible deniability for the economic damage that he's doing if that were to occur. So while some people are like, yes, I hope that they strike, that'll really fuck the Biden economy. Number one, I don't want people to suffer. Let's put that out there. Number two, it would have backfired. It wouldn't have been actually good, to tell the truth. So I've dropped that story because it appears the hope is that it's no longer fully relevant. We have our first super chat very early here from Victoria Winter. I'm not going to tell you how to spend this money, but if you buy the little one a cute fall outfit, that would put a smile on my face. Halloween is my favorite holiday. Yeah, mine too. Basically, Halloween starts being celebrated by me at the beginning of September, and it lingers basically until about Thanksgiving. So it's about 3 months out of the year. I thank you for that. And yes, there will be cute Halloween outfits. Yeah. That's an important thing to do. Debating between pumpkin or elf for the actual outfit. Let me just a second here. I know all my tabs are working. I managed to check that beforehand. I know we went live a couple of minutes early. Link in the description on all platforms, as well as pinned at the top of chat if you happen to be on YouTube, the live chat there. Please do help out Clankdom on Pixel Planet. We have restored the East Roman Empire. We've taken over, we've gutted Turkey. It no longer exists. What we didn't take is now occupied by a conglomerate of Kurds, Georgians, and Armenians. So we've helped to liberate their countries from their oppressors. And we're now moving down into the Levant. I wanted to make one thing clear. If any order is given, it'll come in the form of video or it'll be on my Twitter. It can't come from any other source. So if you see something in chat claiming that I said something, just check my Twitter. Whether or not you have an account is irrelevant, and you'll be able to fact check that for yourself. I probably won't do a Pixel Planet video today. I'm going to do less of the one-off videos for that because it's begun to screw with the YouTube algorithm, I think, and it's dropping the number of views that I'm actually getting on the political content. And we're only a couple of months out from the midterms, so I can't keep doing that. So I'm just going to address it in live streams. But I do appreciate whenever clankers get aboard on Pixel Planet. Number one, it is fun. And number two, we're busting the balls of so many people. They're so goddamn mad that they're deploying bots and crazy shit like that. It's like now the salt flow in Pixel Planet's chat is somehow even better than the salt that used to flow on ICQ chat. This is extremely great to me. Yeah, make sure that you pay attention to chat. The main goal of the day is to overrun Lebanon and Syria. That's in the Levant region. You can look it up if you don't know where those are. Not everyone is as geographically inclined as me. As well as holding what we've already got, because there are some minor incursions. I see Turkish players have pixeled in a few small islands in their red. And of course, there's a huge amount of shit out in the ocean. I wish we could clean up the oceans, but unfortunately, I think that's probably a lost cause by this point. Meanwhile, continuing to defend Constantinople, currently being griefed by a few Turkish players as well. And they're not building anything. They're just griefing, just trying to destroy what we've created. They seem salty at the Kurdistanis as well, the Kurdish people who have rebuilt their proud nation. And they're trying to push back the Armenians, but they're not making any progress. So I think they've probably got a lid on what's going on over there. Let me make sure that the video is working on Rumble before I continue. Always got to do this. Yes, we are live. And chat is working. By the way, on Rumble, please do join me on Rumble as well, rumble.com. Again, link in the description. If you're watching on Rumble, hello to you all out there. Because we are still having a friendly competition with InfoWars to see who can get to 110,000 subscribers first. We are behind, but it is by only a few hundred subscribers. So please do subscribe to Clankdom, to Styx Hexenhammer 666 on Rumble, and we'll get this done. In fact, I think we probably just passed, let me fact check this live. Yeah, we passed 108,000 subscribers in the last few minutes. So we're within striking distance. We're getting very close to that goal. And that's also great because I'm live streaming there. And of course, I will be doing a midterm live stream with Sleazy P. Martini as co-host. Anyway, we'll get to a few super chats here and then launch right into the news as people pour onto Pixel Planet. Help a clanker out. There's a little bit of griefing going on there. It seems, by the way, I will point this out. The Ottomans, who have been completely routed, are obsessed with two things, Cyprus and the Constantinople region. Oddly enough, this sets them off more than Armenia and Kurdistan reforming their traditional borders. I don't know why. Roscoe P. Coltrane, good morning, Sticks. Good morning to you, Roscoe. Gerald Armstrong, Alex Stein claimed another victim. I patched John McCain. Yes, we will be talking about Dan Crenshaw's pathetic meltdown over this. The Landlord Harassment Channel. If you took turkey, did you take the stuffing too? Yes, but only the stuffing that was actually cooked inside the turkey. Most people don't realize this, but if it's stuffed inside the bird and then cooked, it tastes a lot better. Some people have it on the side, and I don't know what's wrong with them. They don't shove it in the turkey's asshole and cook it inside of its carcass till it's perfect. Why are you even? How are you even still alive if you haven't had that experience? Depressants. Bridget got groomed. Lol. I don't even know exactly what you're referring to, but it's funny anyway. So yeah, we're moving down into Syria and Lebanon. We'll get right to the news in a second here. Ralph J. Sticks, did the $10,000 debt forgiveness go through, or is it embattled in courts? You're asking the wrong person. I've got no fucking clue what's going on with it. I don't even know. Are they passing a bill? Is it going to be an EO? Is it injuncted? Is it being battled out? I don't know. I'm not even getting any updates. It seems like the whole ploy was to make the big announcement, hey, Biden's going to give you free shit. He's going to give you Gibbs, and then let the issue drop and get hammered out in the courts and probably, not actually go through it all to affect the midterms. I think that that's probably the most likely scenario. Mopey Hornet. Hey, Sticks, off-topic question. What is your opinion on the city of Atlantis actually existing somewhere under the ocean or just an old tale? I think Santorini is the basis for that. Multi-story structures, three-story structures, long into antiquity, in a period when the Greeks were literally living in mud huts, basically, or wooden shacks. I think that was used, and it did get destroyed in a cataclysmic explosion that completely wiped out their civilization, ended what we refer to as the Minoan civilization. I think Santorini is probably the best bet. They should double down on their funding for more digs there. I bet they'll find more spectacular shit. They had indoor plumbing. So in the early Bronze Age, they had indoor plumbing. They were pretty advanced. Darius Harvey. Oh God, what did Dan do now? You will see. I'm saving it for last because it's best, because it's hilarious. Alex Stein was trolling him. He didn't react too kindly to it. Gerald Armstrong, Sticks, you may pass InfoWars, but will you have the stamina to pass TimfoWars? We're going to cram in as many subscribers as we can on Rumble. I'm highly competitive on these platforms. By the way, Odyssey is now listed on Social Blade, and I didn't realize this, but I'm in the top 20 creators on there. Pedro Henrique, I am waiting for years that you go to Tim Pool's. I will go on there as soon as I'm back in the United States and have the time to do so. Anyway, we'll get to the news. Oh, we got a Rumble rant. Jenk Uger's sweaty gunt. No one scoffed and rolled their eyes at me harder than this NIMBY Karen when I brought up the border situation. Just 2 seconds after, she talked about healthcare and how compassionate the left is. Yeah, unless they go to Martha's Vineyard, then the left all of a sudden doesn't want those, them other folks. They should stay down yonder. They ought not to get into our goddamn neighborhood. They sound like a bunch of fucking rednecks with suspenders and missing teeth. They sound like the stereotype that they make of Republicans, actually. Garrett, how do you know RCP is more legit than 538? By looking at the election results throughout time. There's a reason 538 and Nate Silver, Nate Metaconglomerate Orr at this point, is a goddamn joke. I don't know why people even report on his shit anymore. He pulls off one good prediction in one midterm election, and all of a sudden he's the god of statistics. RCP, meanwhile, has reasonable accuracy election after election after election, as long as you know how to interpret the numbers that you're seeing. Problem? 99.9% of the population doesn't know how to interpret the numbers that they're seeing. I do. That's why my analysis is prized by people, because it tends to be correct. First story. Looks like the cat's trying to bully her sister. Please don't do that. There's a live stream going on. Why don't you come and grab one of these pumpkins and roll around on the floor with it? You look like a pumpkin anyway. She's got orange fur on her underside, and she's kind of rotund. You can mistake her for a pumpkin? Yeah. Yes, the polls may be wrong again, but Democrats have reasons to be optimistic. The party is getting some substantial things done and catching a lot of lucky breaks. Here's an epic example. Link in the description. Take that archived link, read it, and bask in the glory of this analysis. This is the greatest example, I think, of a lie by structure that I've seen so far. Look at the title. Oh, the polls may be wrong again, but Democrats should be optimistic. Yeah, we're looking up. Hey, guys, we're going to win the midterms, right? Yeah, it's really great. Look at the way the article is structured. And then go down, how far down the article do you have to go for the real truth down there? How many paragraphs in? It's, let's see. You have to at least get to the third paragraph before you have any doubt cast upon the premise of the article. The idea is that there's going to be potentially, and I happen to agree with this sentiment, a blue mirage. That is that polling in midterm elections tends to oversample Democrats. And I look at it very carefully. I'm going to take up a conservative view here. The average skew is much larger, but I'm going to go with a very small skew. Let's assume that the polls are wrong in Republicans' favor in the end by 1 point. That's all. It's a tiny number of voters. It's less than the population of virtually any state. 1% of voters. I don't even know that would be 1 million people considering the turnout levels and who's eligible to vote. That alone throws about 1/3 of all the toss-up races that would be contested to the Republicans. It secures them an advantage in the Senate. It gives them numerous gubernatorial races that are currently razor thin. 1 point. That's it. We've had skews in some of these races in the double-digit range over the last few midterm elections. The average is more than a point. I think the average is about 4. If that were to happen, it would be cataclysmic for the Democratic Party. There won't be any Roe-vember, for example. The only thing that can change that is honkening, but that's been limited to a handful of states. And it's been pointed out, CNN had an article about this. CNN, of all places. Keep this in mind, what this means. CNN talking about how the outperformance of Democrats beyond the polls in a handful of races just happened to be the same oversampling points that overestimated Biden's support. Of course, with the primaries. If that is indeed the case, the Republicans will take the House. It won't be close. They will at least break even in the Senate, keeping the deadlock going. They will probably take 1 or 2 seats. They could take 3 or 4, technically speaking. I don't predict that, but it's possible. They would win another couple of gubernatorial slots, and the Democrats will be effectively close to a minor party status within the United States. Biden becomes a lame duck. He can't do anything. He certainly, at that point, I don't think runs for re-election, causing chaos in the Democratic ranks, which is exactly what they need. I would like to tell Democrats out there, to the 5 or 6 of you that hate watch me, just to vote down everything that I make, if you're still actually on the stream, you need your party to crash and burn, because you need to burn off all the dead wood in order for the young growth to actually expand. The basic forestry concept. You've got a bunch of old dead limbs everywhere, and everything's just sort of gloomy and covered in moss and shit. And that aesthetic is definitely pleasing to me. I like mushrooms and moss as much as the next man. But it's not going to support the same kind of ecosystem as if it's burned to the ground and all of the growth is very new and everything's light green and fluffy and there's flowers everywhere. That's going to be a more healthy ecosystem as long as it's managed. The Democratic Party is like a bunch of old goddamn creaking oak trees that support a handful of squirrels and really not much else. That's basically, and they're nuts. So, the squirrel metaphor is apt too. And so this article, epic lie by structure. talking about nothing but optimism in the first couple of paragraphs. Benefiting from a slate of weirdos and crazies being pushed by Donald Trump and Peter Thiel. They seem to have Peter Thiel derangement syndrome now, too. And while they remain relatively dismal, even Joe Biden's poll numbers have started to inch upward, right back to their old holding point. As I pointed out, they're literally becoming linear at exactly the same point that they were before. There were already alarm bells going off among the Democrats at that point. The idea that he has regained soft support and that somehow fundamentally changes the metrics of the midterm election is hilarious. I think we're headed for, if not a red wave, at least generally a significant Republican gain in the election. I think there is a blue mirage. How big it is anyone's guess. I mean, if it approaches the double-digit range, the Democrats get crushed to the point where Biden could be removed from office. I don't predict that, though. I go with a very conservative estimate, just 1 point. Here's my slogan for today's live stream: 1 fucking point. That's basically all the differential needs to be for the GOP to guarantee that they take the House handily, to guarantee that they don't lose anything in the Senate, even if they break even. It's game over for the Biden administration. He can't do anything. Yolt Nick. Darrell, been lurking the past week. I went to Martha's Vineyard on our vacation. When they heard my accent, the demeanor changed really quick. Here's some dollars for energy drinks. I want one. Again, don't worry. I promise, Nick, I will pack some of these up for when I'm back in the United States. They are really good. Just trust me on this one. Yeah, Nick, by the way, everyone, a friend from high school, actually. And stacked is fucking Hulk Hogan, so he looks like the golden one at this point. Yeah, I talked about that earlier with regards to the people in Martha's Vineyard and their NIMBYism. Do you think, like Nick is a Vermonter and myself, we've got sort of that redneck twang going on there? If we show up in Martha's Vineyard outside someone's $2.5 million home with the limo parked in the driveway, those people are going to look down their noses at us as though we were from the third world. I've had this experience, by the way. Eli, Kitty Pumpkin. Yeah, you can see one of them here. This is the cinnamon-colored kitty. The pumpkin is over there on the couch. Iggy the Incubus. Liberals complaining about turning places like D.C. and Martha's Vineyard into a border town is an accidental admission on their part of the utter contempt they hold border voters in. Yeah, I mean, there continues to be a flight by people within 100 miles of the southern border, damningly away from the Democratic Party. A huge block of all the loss of Hispanic voters is happening in those regions. And it's not even new. I mean, it began began before 2016, technically. The Grizzly, how much do you think new tech will affect the election? And do you think that new tech will outcompete legacy media tech sites, barring that the U.S. doesn't just turn into a banana dictatorship and shut off the internet? You don't want to shut off the internet because you want to make money off of it. You want to control the internet. That's what the globalists want. I think that new tech will have a much broader impact than in 2020. It's grown considerably. Rumble at the moment is the one skyrocketing the most. All of them are growing. I think it has more and more of an outsized impact. Black 995. Hail, First Emperor Sticks, and the Empress Liz. The Patriot Chiro, more Beijing Biden economy chaos, railroad workers on the verge of a strike, 115,000 U.S. railroad workers. Load your pantry. It does appear they have reached a tentative deal to prevent a strike. Andrew Espinoza, hey Sticks, just joined. Has anyone informed you on the potential rail workers strike? Yes. And the catastrophic consequences if it happens Friday? Yes, but I dropped it from the news docket after posting my initial tweet on what it would be. Because it looks like it will be averted, which is good. Black 995, how does it feel to be Emperor Sticks? Feels pretty good, even if it's just on a giant paint map on a website somewhere. Jay Webb, if the value of the dollar collapses, would the welfare state lose their mob along with their power and leverage, or will they point the finger? They'll point the finger. Think the mob will believe them? I appreciate you. Yeah, they would point the finger and they would be successful with the people that they've gotten reliant on them in their handouts. Michael Manker, can someone please explain to me how moving illegals deeper into the country is a good thing? Well, they can't be deported because the federal government won't deport them and states can't. So it makes sense to send them to sanctuary areas, to places with NIMBY liberals. We'll be talking about that, don't worry. I think Martha's Vineyard needs some more diversity. I think that they're too homogenous. I think I just accidentally closed one of my tabs, by the way. Yes, I did. Yeah, second news story, Kamala Harris talking about the border. Link in the description, archived, of course. She thinks that the border is secure. She stated this the other day when she was talking about the border. I've got a problem with this. And then, can anyone guess what it is? She's the border czar. She was appointed by Beijing Biden's stewardship to oversee the U.S. border and maintain its security, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is that Kamala Harris has never actually been within shouting distance of the U.S. border along any part of it in the South. She won't even go to California and visit the border there. Is it because San Diego erected a bunch of border wall and it actually worked and they're quite pleased with it, and so people are pouring in Arizona and Texas instead, where there are still major gaps? Yeah, I think that might be the reason. The fact is that the U.S. border is not secure. Kamala Harris is lying. She's not doing her job. She should probably be impeached for her negligence as well when the Republicans take the House. Doesn't matter if you remove from office. Just impeach these fuckwads. Seors, Duelist Den is getting strikes on YouTube for content. Please support his tiny Rumble channel. Okay, we have Duelist's Den, who has a Rumble channel, and you can subscribe to them if you wish. Jebediah Kerman, Emperor feels good. Knew you were an authoritarian. We have a benevolent dictatorship in the East Roman Empire. We respect the sovereignty of both neighbors and member states. Don't give a shit if the Turks want to have their flag in their territory. They're going to have to make peace terms first, though. They're not simply going to retake the territory we have by the right of conquest. They were so convinced for like 3 days in a row running. They were convinced they were going to push us back. They tried again last night, and it just fell flat, dude. Soul Sound Music, thanks for what you do. I'm going to keep doing it, too. Next news story. This is a huge one. New Durham bombshell. FBI paid Russian accused of lying as a confidential informant against Trump. Prosecutor says Igor Danchenko was paid by the FBI. So keep in mind, literal Russian agent was being paid, but not by Trump, by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as a confidential human source for 3 years, despite prior concerns he was tied to Russian intel services. The new Durham filings should be front page, second page, and goddamn third page news and in the classified section with regards to this scandal. This is so huge that it almost makes the goddamn Hunter Biden laptop cover-up story second most important scandal of the current decade. Of course, we're only a couple of years into it, but Biden is giving us plenty of fodder. This is absolutely nuts. Durham persuaded the federal judge in the upcoming trial of Igor Danchenko to unseal a motion revealing that Danchenko, the primary source of the now discredited Steele dossier, this is Russiagate we're talking about, with Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and the Rosenbaum greenlighting things and then claiming to Congress he didn't know whether he read it or not. He just signed his name. Was paid by the FBI as a confidential human source for more than 3 years until the fall of 2020 when he was terminated for lying to agents. Is the FBI going to come out and tell the American people, oopsie poopsie, we made a little bit of a whoopsie? We did a dirty, stinky doo-doo in our fucking diaper, and we accidentally had a Russian spy working for us, helping promote the Steele dossier? And why, by the way, am I seeing nothing about this from the legacy media? Could it be because the midterms are about 2 months away? Just like the Hunter Biden laptop scandal was covered up by the FBI and by big tech and by the legacy media at the time and called Russian disinformation. Here's your Russian disinfo. A Russian agent was feeding disinformation to the goddamn FBI itself. These are the same morons that we're supposed to trust with regards to the Mar-a-Lago raid. You'll excuse me if I'm a little bit on the goddamn skeptical side at some point. Viking Woman 1988, clanking, but with a cup of tea at work. Oh, tea and crumpets with the Queen, is it? Oh, goodness. Oh, Eustace. Tom McMorrow. With the accreting economic Eastern Bloc and surging populism across the West, how desperate will the establishment get? They be chuffing? Yeah, they've been chuffing since 2015. Black995, Sticks, why not conquer the whole Middle East on Pixel Planet? Rule it. Well, we'd be overstretching. The thing is, I'd have to constantly make videos about the latest incursion. I'm just trying to restore order to an area that had been overrun by the Ottoman Empire because they were bullying one of our allies. Pixel Planet Cyprus is now under attack. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I see they're back for their daily dose of losing against us. Yeah. You can help out. Get onto Pixel Planet. Again, link in the description. Also at the top of live chat if you're on YouTube. Cyprus is being invaded. You can pixel in that red there with light blue. And they're pixeling some of it in black for no reason, too. They've been, I think, switching up color schemes when they grief things, specifically to try to confuse the response to them. It doesn't work too well, but I mean, they keep trying it. They tried to invade Constantinople like 20 minutes ago. That didn't work. I guess they decided to pivot to Cyprus. I'm surprised they're not trying to grief the Kurds or the Armenians or something. They seem to be leaving them alone. So that side of our border is secure. As for Turkey proper, we run it. It's all ours by right of conquest. Why should I make a peace agreement with the Ottoman Empire if we've already beaten you completely? That's what I'm talking about. Total war, total conquest, and the right of kings. I am now the king of what used to be Turkey on Pixel Planet. I wonder, I didn't see that other streamer the other night. I don't know if he went live with his TikTok 10-year-olds, his cringe broadcast. What a loser. That was funny as fuck. I could only watch 5 fucking minutes of that before I turn it off. It was too much for me. Anyway, yeah, the FBI actually paid a Russian info agent money for a number of years, probably to try to cover things up because they realized that they fucked up with the Steele dossier. So your taxpayer dollars, to be clear, they went to a Russian disinfo agent, but they were being paid by the FBI, not by Donald Trump. And again, you're not going to see anything about this on CNN or MSNBC or something. They'll brush it aside. If they mention it at all, they'll say, well, this sounds like disinfo to me. Sensation, how much money for you to quit Pixel Planet forever? You get me about 50 grand and I'll quit Pixel Planet forever. That's my price. I'm having fun. With the 50 grand, of course, I can get a couple more video games or something like that. I'll just choose somewhere else to grief. And now that you've offered me money, I'll know that I can get money. All I have to do is be really, really antagonistic to people on some online site, and eventually somebody will pay me. Yeah, you give me 50 grand and I'll get it done. Don't worry. And I'll keep true to my word. I'll never use Pixel Planet again or even talk about it if I get that much money. I take Bitcoin, by the way. Links in the description. Joel P. Fetterman has run ads saying he wants to end coal mining in Pennsylvania, yet he also tells steel workers he wants to make more steel in Pennsylvania. Could this indicate he's been a steel town mayor but doesn't understand how steel is made? No, it indicates that he's contravening himself because he's a goddamn grifter. He'll tell one group of people one thing. It's like imagine I'm running for office. I'm running for dog catcher. And I know that the voters there are religious. I'm not going to regale them with tales about paganism or something. I'm going to say, well, I really do admire the story of Jesus. I may not be a Christian like you, but, he seems like a cool dude. Then I'm talking to, the amazing atheist shows up. He's got some questions. And I'm going to say, well, I'm apatheistic. I don't really believe in a God. Now, it's as simple as that. Yeah, you're contradicting yourself. But when the legacy media is circling wagons for you, as it is with John Fetterman, that's not a problem because nobody knows you contradicted yourself. Griffin Share, everyone hating on Pixel Planet does not understand the value of laughter. Yeah, I find it funny. It ain't nothing but a thing. We're just having fun. It's not anything serious. It's a bunch of fucking pixels. Next story, the Fed's war on inflation may take the U.S. economy down with it. Some people are predicting 7.5% inflation may be looming at some point in the future because of the Fed's interest rate hikes. What they're doing is trying to slow down the economy because the currency is inflating. You saw, I think it was, it wasn't this article. Robert Reich had an article where he was actually calling out the Fed saying, no, you've got to talk about corporate profits more. We need a windfall tax like they're trying to do in Europe, which would also be very problematic. Here's what I would say. Stagflation was inevitable. A rise in unemployment based on the poor Biden economy was inevitable. Biden laid the groundwork to blame the Fed for his problem. All this is wagon circling. This is from CNN. They take economic news, directly from the White House. They bragged about it. Oliver Darcy many months ago said, look, we're coordinating with the White House to get out more positive economic news. If, therefore, you have news that is not positive, we have to do a little bit of critical thinking and find out why they put out the article. They know that a recession is already here. They can pretend that it's just coming, but it's already here. It's going to deepen, by the way, when we get the next bit of economic news. That's number one. Number two, unemployment has already begun ticking upwards. When they realized this, all of a sudden you had a bunch of articles with regards to the Fed's actions. Do you think that was coincidental, or do you think these might be related? Number three, we know that they're coordinating with the White House. Here's what I think. They know stagflation is coming. Inflation will remain relatively high, above 6.57%. It'll remain pacing ahead of wages. Since it's year over year, technically speaking, that means it's continuing to rise, but the actual metric stabilizes more or less. Unemployment will begin to rise. It will probably get above 4% as of the next update. It's close to it now anyway. It's going to begin rising. That is stagflation, recession and stagflation. It's hitting right before midterms. They are doing everything that they can right now to astroturf that the Fed is singularly responsible, despite only stepping in the last 60 days. Biden had nothing to do with it. None of his policies for an entire year and a half have affected the economy in anything but a positive way, like bringing gas prices down. So CNN will report on how Biden has reigned over a long-term slump in gas prices, but they won't report on the fact that he is himself at least partially responsible for the rest of the shitty economic situation. That's what they're doing. It's to save face. They're the circling wagons. They're terrified right now. I mean, I don't blame them. I'd be terrified too. The puppet that I've got in power that literally gives us news tips, how helpful, is probably going to lose so much support that the Democrats get slam-a-jammed into yesteryear, and then Trump comes back. And he won't give us interviews, which means we make less money. Amarin Sinterov, my Basilius Stixhexenhammer, 666th of his line, savior of the Romans, rector provinciae of Africa proconsularis. The mighty empire demands to be clad in the royal colors. The purple phoenix must rise. Yeah, that's the other consideration. Some clankers are going already into northern Egypt, which I didn't command. If we overstretch too much, it's going to take us a long time to decorate everything. Right now, we're just pushing the Ottomans out. Probably should have thought of that to begin with, but I didn't quite think of it. Coordinating it would have been difficult. The Grizzly, do you think Michigan will ever turn into a red populist state, or do you think they will go even more blue in future elections? They're already becoming more red. We saw this in 2016. I think it's a swing state now, arguably. Alejandro Munoz, I agree with the guy who said people don't understand the value of laughter. Doomers especially don't. That's why all of them become a feminist idea of incels. What do you think, Sticks? Yeah, I think that doomers have problems laughing. And some of them, of course, are just interested in making a lot of money. They're grifters. So they say, well, the wars are coming. There's nothing we can do. Basically just, leech off the system or something like that. There are various suggestions they make. Any positive suggestion you can make, like, hey, why don't you learn how to grow food if you're worried about food shortages? Oh, my God, I don't have time to do that. But, your job is sitting in front of a computer and talking. Well, I don't have time. I've got other things that I've got to do. Not everyone's as skilled as you at growing turnips. I get this shit all the time from white supremacists, by the way. Got a couple of chats over on Rumble. Cruel. Few people talk about why these people are coming here illegally. They are leaving the exact same bullshit for that the Democrats are doing here. Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge people the right to attempt to seek entry into the United States, although I wish that we compelled them to do it legally. And genuine asylum seekers do exist, even though it's maybe 1 or 2% of the total people coming in. I do feel sorry for them. I think that the United States should start exporting actual capitalism to other countries that are blighted so that they get better and we don't have this problem. Instead of bombing people, why don't we drop leaflets on top of them saying the benefits of capitalism and a constitutional system and owning guns? Solve your own problems. We'll give you a bunch of guns. You take care of your crazy authoritarian commie government. Rider of the Metal Horse. You've criticized Christianity a lot over the years. God is evil, spirituality over religion, Christians not accepting Christianity's pagan roots, etc. Have any of your views changed at all? Well, I've become apatheistic. I no longer give a shit whether there's a God or not just a Christian one, but any particular deity. But no, my views on organized religion at large have not really changed. If anything, I've become more anti-religious. Uper0987, first time on Rumble. Clank. Excellent. Yeah, get over on Rumble. We're competing with InfoWars. Doc Holiday, can I moose hunt your Vermont property? No, you wouldn't find any mooses there anyway. It's not exactly a swampy location. Neon Dystopia, are you going to keep to yourself and ride out the collapse, or are you going to seek a more active role in the new society? I don't think there will be a collapse. I think there will be a terrible world recession fairly soon. We're basically in it already, but we're technically sort of kind of just on the brink. But anyway, it's not going to matter. A horrible gamer. Some Styx hater deface the Styx art on, they've got coordinates there, with the super miles long dong. Yeah, they seem obsessed with my penis over on Pixel Planet. Plenty of people playing with it in the pixelated sense. Very strange. Silky Johnson, have you considered building a temple so you can spawn priests to convert the Ottomans to clankers? Whoa. Research astrology for conversation bonus. You mean conversion bonus. Yeah, Wololo, I get the reference. Trust me. Age of Empires is a great game. Yeah, I mean, the Greeks already have a temple there. The Grizzly, most random question you ever received just for the lulz. Do you use scented candles, plugins, or do you burn incense to make your house smell nice? I am an incense man. That is what I prefer. I got a shit ton of it the other day. We found a new shop, actually, in Anshade, and they sell incense and minerals and, you know, all the hippie trippy stuff, as well as religious icons and stuff. I thought about having, like, Buddha in the background just to confuse people, actually. And they've got all the incense. They've got a huge selection. It's pretty good. We'll be going back there again. Next story, Mike Pence. Abortion bans are more important than short-term politics. Yes, Mike Pence, the anti-Trump would-be candidate, is attempting to astroturf himself in as an evangelical in order to try to potentially make a primary run. He will lose. He thinks that it's 2005, I think. He looks a little bit like George W., and he acts like him too. He's certainly less pacifistic than Trump on the world stage. Certainly pretends to be religious more often. Most of the time when politicians talk about Jesus, what they're referring to is the contents of their wallet, let's face it. Mike Pence is a disingenuous cunt. There's no possibility that I'd vote for him. If he ever managed to win the Republican primaries, I would vote for the Democrats over Mike Pence, honestly. I was right about him to begin with. I'll be right about him in the future. He's a twat. He doesn't deserve to be anywhere near any office. And one of the biggest failings that Trump ever had was choosing Mike Pence as a running mate. And I said this long before the January 6th kerfuffle, by the way. I said it when the primaries were still going on. Mike Pence was a terrible choice. He should have chosen Flynn, in my opinion. And basically, it was just an olive branch extended to the lame establishment that let us all down and led to MAGA in the first place. The olive branch was rejected. It didn't work. Mike Pence basically sat on his ass and did nothing. He's a piece of shit. I love this. Abortion bans are so much more important. Yes, let's inject an issue other than the economy that you've already completely goddamn lambasted the Democrats on. You have won a half a dozen major cultural victories and economic victories over the last year. You've won on the economy. You've won on inflation. You've won on crime. You've won on the border. You've won on education now. The first time in goddamn history, the Republicans lead on education because of CRT and shit. You've won on all of these things. Let's pivot the conversations that we've won on to one in which it's a 50-50 sum game, and we have a tendency to smack ourselves in the goddamn balls with an electric fly swatter on. That sounds like a great idea. Pence is joining the likes of moron Lindsey Graham in pushing this goddamn short bus proposal, and that's really what it is. It's the short bus proposal. These people are nuts, and they're doing it on purpose. The other point is, I mean, Mike Pence just wants to elbow his way into a primary. Lindsey Graham just wants to stymie the midterms for the Republican Party. He may accidentally end up helping him with his proposal that Mitch McConnell shot down like a goddamn a Luftwaffe aircraft approaching the edge of the UK back in the 40s. Mitch McConnell won't even let him go forward with it. He might have accidentally snatched the victory from the jaws of defeat, actually, on that particular proposal. But these people are colluding to make things difficult for MAGA. That's really what this is about. Disingenuous fucking cunt, fucker, idiot. That's what Mike Pence is. Piece of trash. He should never be allowed in office again. Let him go and sell more books to China. Make a memoir and get the Chinese to give you $1 million by buying up a bunch of copies and then burning them in a warehouse. That's what politicians do, right? BW, wish Supreme Court would get back. We could use the Moore versus Harper thing. Every advantage would help. Tucker says Trump will be indicted. Think that's about to happen? Well, if they do, they're nuts, especially since I think Trump is now claiming that all the documents they took were just copies. So, established Lord Fred of Dankytown. I love Rumble, but their Android app is terrible. Yeah, apparently it's not so app-friendly. Doesn't affect people like me who are old school and don't use our smartphones to access videos. I want widescreen, motherfucker. Rider of the Metal Horse. Do you have a favorite mythological creature? I'm partial to Champ, the Lake Champlain monster, because that's from Vermont, homegrown. Joker 1, you got me thinking about planting fall turnips. Wonder if it's too late for Southern Illinois. Maybe do that this weekend. I don't know. I don't know what zone that's in. Apache Senpai. Since you don't believe one is coming, what do you think would cause a collapse? I may be watching too much Tim Pool, but it feels inevitable sometimes. That's what the globaloids want. They want you to think everything's falling apart and terrible, even though for the average person, they're still getting by, so that you'll get at each other's throats and you'll give the government more power to save you from the evildoers causing the problem. David Lara, hey Styx, as a longtime fan of your occult playlist, have you ever considered a one-off or occasional occult live stream? Clank on, clankers. I don't think I'll live stream the occult content. I prefer to one-off that. Black995, do you think that desalination seawater can help with the water crisis when it comes to agriculture in the U.S.? Yeah, I mean, it could. You may destroy entire ecosystems by doing so, but yeah, I suppose. And sell the sea salt to people because some people prefer it over, I don't know, other forms of salt. Mopey Hornet, hey Styx, what's your opinion on deja vu? Personally, mine comes in waves and are linked to dreams I had weeks beforehand. I get deja vu sometimes. I guess the general terminology for it is that it's technically a kind of stroke, if I remember correctly. I don't believe in that. I think that that's oversimplification. I don't know what deja vu is about. Doc Holliday, who wins the District of Columbia hot dog eating championship, Lindsey Graham or Mayor Pete? Lindsey Graham. He's had more time to cram hot dogs inside of him because he's older. So he's expanded his capacity more. The Patriot Chiro, is it possible for states to use their public education funds to pay parents who opt to homeschool? Taxpayers should have a choice to use their own money. I agree with you. I think that if you homeschool, you shouldn't have to pay any taxes linked to schooling, state or anything else. I don't know if that's possible. It may depend on the state. Gob Gonson, do you think Dems blaming the Fed could backfire and end up leading to Ron Paul-esque calls to end the Fed? Also, I admire how protective you are of your daughter's privacy. Yes, privacy is of great concern to me because I've seen the problem with putting too much personal info out on the internet. Used to be everyone was like that. Then all of a sudden, Facebook came along and people started putting their real names out there like a bunch of idiots. And the internet has never been the same since. Everything should be anonymous whenever possible. Yeah, I think it could backfire, but I think it's more likely that they're not calling to end the Fed or anything like that. They're just saying, they'll say, well, he overshot the mark. They had the right idea, but they did too much of a good thing. They administered too much medicine to the patient. The patient croaked. Whoops. Mojo Hansen, the Civil War narrative is effing BS. It will be global establishment versus all of us. The phantom, but real war that the blind can't see. Agreed. Eli, love your hair, Sticks. I usually have you in the background, but now that you're on screen, it's awesome. Love your bids, and the live streams give me even more time to listen. Thanks. Yeah, I've kept doing the live streams because they're just great. Thank you for the hair compliment. WJ Dad for sharing your thoughts. Well done. Thank you. The Landlord Harassment Channel. MAGA are commies. You can't be pro-tough on crime, pro-pig, and pro-prison, and be pro-small government freedom. I think you'll find there are a plethora of views within MAGA, but it is incommensurate with the concept of communism because you cannot make a country great by using a long-term failed economic system. Doc Holliday sent a bunch of laughing to tears emojis. The Atlas Report. I read deja vu is when your brain farts and information gets stored directly to long-term memory, so you remember it as you experience it. Interesting. Crucial Bunny, MAGA communists are special. Bless their hearts. Yeah, they were spurging off on me the other day. They'll do it again today at some point, probably. Comparing me to Gretchen from Recess is actually, I consider it a compliment. She was the character that actually was smart. Most of the others are fucking morons. Luka Pilipovic, how does making everything worse to the point of total collapse help globalists? At that point, they'll be dragged out into the night, not to be heard. No, because they've got private islands and bunkers. And people tend to be uncoordinated in their attacks. This is how riots, you got 100 times more rioters than you have cops, and the cops still win 9 times out of 10. Better tactics, holding a formation, knowing what to do. A disorganized rabble can't accomplish anything. And if they start to organize, then they start using the FBI to persecute them. Hence what we're seeing now, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Mega Sea Monkey, good morning, Sticks. Just had a peach-flavored monster. I would put it on B tier on my energy drink tier list. I'm not even going to try that because I'm afraid that I'll be massively let down, and I love peach flavor. Ms. Kim, 1223, good morning. Have you ever thought about updating your audio and video setup? Yes, but I don't have a home office right now, so it's pointless. Jezebel B, do you think Ayanna Presley will open her rental properties to the migrants in Martha's Vineyard? Yeah, she'll charge them rent. Scarfy the Strange, found out that I can't list Fox videos as not interested or don't recommend this channel, but I can do that for other channels. Yes, on priority channels on YouTube, you're more limited in your capabilities. I think there are also channels you can't block, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong on that. Next news story. Cenk Uygur weighing in on the concept of defunding the police. His old tweet, I'm done. I'm now supporting defund the police 100%. I already largely agreed with the substance of the argument, and now I'm down for the framing too. There is no reform or transformation that can fix this. We have to start over and completely rebuild policing in this country. That was in the middle of 2020. Of course, Trump is president at the time. There's a reason for this. There's a little bit of a pivot. His tweet from the other day on the 13th, Cenk Uygur again. Will people who came up with defund the police slogan admit they were wrong? It was wildly counterproductive framing. You don't speak for the left, and neither do people pushing the counterproductive abolish prisons. Polls show that almost no one on the left agrees with you. I guess that you changed your opinion, Cenk. I just thought this was a great example of a moron, to tell the truth. Multi-million-dollar moron, Buffalo man, Cenk Uygur, astroturfed across the internet. Once very popular, I think the Young Turks are receding as far as their relevance goes at this point. Even though they have meetings with Susan Wojcicki and shit like that, quite literally, and they get propped up with priority status, they still have problems. And Cenk during the midterms, if there is a red wave or anything approximating it, I'm hoping that it's like the midterms the last time in 2018 when the clankers showed up on the live stream posting spoons and laughing our asses off because it was just such a goddamn freak show. He left his show early. He was practically crying. His intelligence in a nutshell. Mega Sea Monkey, good morning, Sticks. I just, I already read that one. Trying to fool me into reading it twice. Corto Maltese, Islam stole the moon and star iconography. We need to put away that silly belief system and return Europe to the old gods. Inomina Luna. Yeah, the symbolism does come from the Sabaean lunar tendencies in Arabia. Yeah. Pagans did inform much of what became Islam. Just look at what Muhammad said with regards to sperm coming from the kidneys. This is literally out of Greek medical literature from the pagan period. Christians adopted that too for a while. It didn't come from Islam. It didn't come from a revelation from a new god. It came from literature that had been read to him. The Patriot Chiro, deja vu is a glitch in the matrix. The Grizzly, does populism and libertarianism is inevitable as the globalist system begins to collapse? If so, do you think it will finally bring us out of these dark times? A little hopium goes a long way. I think that there is hope that that ends up happening. And we will be able to lift ourselves up, especially socially and economically, out of the dark times in the United States if we continue to reject leftoidism and crack the uniparty apart, which will bring us into Dan Crenshaw later, his particular meltdown. Cenk Uygur's sweaty gunt on Rumble. Cenk Uygur loves speaking out of his sweaty gunt. Yeah, he seems to. Next news story. This is from NBC News. Satanic panic is making a comeback. Oh, an old issue that I talk about. Fueled by QAnon believers and GOP influencers, baseless accusations are branding people as Satanist pedophiles as the speed of the internet. Just ask a GOP prosecutor who recently lost re-election. I would like to point out how wrong this is. The satanic panic, number one, is dead. That dies in basically the dawn of the 1990s. It doesn't really last past the 80s. That was a Geraldo-fed thing more than anything else. The neocons were the ones mainly responsible, and the Tipper Gore's Housewives of America sort of groups of people in the Clinton administration. But culturally, by then, it had petered out some, other than worrying about video games and occasionally rap music lyrics. So number one, satanic panic's over. Using the same moniker for people that believe that there are devil worshippers within entertainment or government or something, that's not the same. The problem is this. The satanic panic was, hey, this average Joe is probably a devil worshipper. They're probably doing crazy shit because they vandalized a grave. There were cattle mutilations. It must be devil worshippers. This person abused a child. There was one case, I can't remember the name of the perp. There was one case where a Christian minister was molesting children and was declared to be a devil worshiper by some people at the time. The idea was that if there is any evil, it has to involve this worldwide cult of devil worshippers. The aim was at musicians and private individuals, and so fucking Wiccans were drawn into it, about as far from devil worship as you can get. Pagan groups, atheists who masquerade as devil worshippers, like the Church of Satan. That's the satanic panic. They're trying to say that there is nothing problematic with quasi-ritualistic behavior that in some cases has been effectively documented among the upper echelons of society. This is an apples to oranges comparison. The reason they're doing this is that they're hoping that all the shock jock era, Stern listening, Iron Maiden listening, video game playing Gen Xers, who make up a core audience, by the way, of NBC News, not surprisingly, will get triggered by the term satanic panic and say, oh my God, no, the Republicans are bringing back the bad old days of Ronald Reagan and Herbert Walker. We must vote Democrat. We must be more liberal in our views. And that's basically what it is. But when you look at Jeffrey Epstein, and some of his art collection is highly questionable, when you look at cases like that, you can understand that when you never seem to have a significant investigation, let alone charges, into some of the people that are involved with these things, it would lead a routine person without any political beliefs, a totally apolitical moderate. It would lead them to believe that something somewhere was deeply wrong. It does with me. For instance, when we look at Pizzagate, no, I do not believe there's a rape dungeon underneath the pizza parlor. But when I look at the connections of some of the people in turn connected to Clinton and certain other individuals named there with Jeffrey Epstein, when I see that I don't have access to the clientele list of Ghislaine Maxwell, and when I see she got a sweetheart deal, probably to shut her up, keep her in a woman's prison, and she'll have plenty of access to lesbians that are half her age. She'll be happy. She'll be perfectly fine. Don't worry about poor Ghislaine there. When I see that Epstein died under literally the most possible mysterious circumstances, I say something is desperately wrong here. It doesn't. The idea that the average person who's MAGA is claiming that there's a worldwide devil worship cult responsible for these problems is wrong. What I claim is rather that it's a corruption problem that's been ingrained in fucking government for thousands of years anyway, which is that power has corrupted these people. Some of them are involved in quasi-ritualistic behavior. I don't think any of them are intelligent enough to understand the genuine occult, but there are elements, there are trappings of it there. It's just like if these people, I notice, I'll put it this way. NBC News is not talking about there being some sort of moral panic when people bring up priest abuse in the Catholic Church, because it's understood there's abuse there. It was at one time covered up over and over again by the Catholic clergy, by the Vatican, etc. It was relatively common in some particular parishes, and it was a systemic issue. And then literally hundreds of thousands of kids just in France were abused in some way, physically, mentally, etc., emotionally, sexually. We realized that it was a problem. Nobody claims that it's a conspiracy theory. Somehow, though, if you extend that basic same premise, because the whole idea that NBC would put forward is, well, it's because the hierarchical power structure of the church. The church covers its ass, it's profitable, it's become corrupt because of the power exerted over communities that are Catholic. The priest is not to be questioned. You go to hell if you do that, so nobody spoke out. Why wouldn't you extend the same goddamn logic to the political world? It's the same fucking shit. If anything, it's worse. There's probably more child abusers in politics in DC or Moscow or Beijing or wherever than you'd ever find in the Catholic Church. It's a goddamn no-brainer. It's not even a conspiracy theory. I like how they've got this picture here of a politician riding a big red, like the devil or something, chasing after a kid on top of a pizza with a pentagram drawn in it. It's like, what are you people smoking? Anyway, we'll get past that. Fuck the satanic panic. Antonio Delora, did I miss you talking about the two MAGAs winning in New Hampshire? I haven't spoken about it yet. I had other news to do. Corto Maltese. Oh, come on, Sticks. You study ancient works. I would have figured you would take a scriptio continua in stride. Bendy Trees. I wonder what happened to Bobby Jones. He's still online. He got salty, I guess, because his prediction of me stalling out at 55,000 subscribers because I was just catering to MAGA far-righters happened to be a little bit wrong. He seems to have gone elsewhere to get his jollies. Wish he'd come back, though. With YouTube the way it is nowadays, I mean, he might comment and just gets removed because he's being trolly. I don't know. I never remove comments on YouTube. YouTube does it for me at this point. Thinks that I need a mama. I need a nanny to keep me safe from the truth. The Grizzly, remember when Dungeons & Dragons was at the center of the satanic panic because some abused college students disappeared in the 80s and Dungeons & Dragons was blamed as a Satanist board game? Fun times, lol. Yeah, they tried to claim that Pokemon was satanic for a while, too. Luka Pilipovic, I respectfully disagree. I think the vast majority of people being angry with the elites isn't something they can avoid. I'd like to see how friendly the Europeans are after this winter with the energy crisis they are in. Yeah, but the cops will keep them in control, generally speaking, because they're better organized. And if you try to organize against that system, you tend to get profiled as a terrorist or a would-be criminal and thrown in jail. It's a grift, really. It's Ken Reza. Mr. Medicare did that video on the Finders, which had some pretty reasonable stuff related to the satanic panic and the FBI. I can genuinely understand the panic, if not agree with it. Yeah, people were terrified. It was sort of like a tie-in with the AIDS epidemic, too, at times. Denine Pumpkin now, elf next year when she can walk. Sorry, I was driving earlier. You should have pulled over to give me that super chat. Just joking. Mojo Hansen, the Young Turks weren't originally AstroTurf. They just had no firm beliefs and followed the money. Eventually, they will die for being establishment goons. Yeah, eventually they'll be fired because Zhank will say something misogynistic again, like on his old blogs in the 2000s. Next news story. Representative slams evil GOP plot as DeSantis sends migrants to Martha's Vineyard. The ultimate NIMBY story, as if New York City and Chicago and D.C. weren't enough. Now illegal immigrants, now from Florida, DeSantis pledged to do this some months ago, are showing up in Martha's Vineyard, one of the richest parts of the United States, which is, again, I pointed out this morning, the buy-in there is you have at least a mid-six-figure salary. You've got to have quite a bit of money. You're not driving a used car. You're a professional or a politician or a celeb or something like that. Or you're retired. You made it big in business like 20 years ago, and now you've got $5 million in the bank. Okay, you can go to Martha's Vineyard. You'll have one of the smaller homes on your block, by the way, at that buy-in. It's a rich area, and they're sending migrants to this area. All of a sudden, Democratic representatives and craptivists on Twitter and people in Martha's Vineyard, I'm sure will weigh in at some point, are very, very concerned about the situation and denouncing it. It's anti-Christian. You're using people as pawns. They're just spreading the diversity around. You voted for this. You voted for an open border and for no human being is illegal and all of these things. And you've got a lot of money. So like if you set up a homeless shelter or an integration system or something, food kitchens and shit, you can, your food pantry for the less fortunate can be stocked with filet mignon. You've got all of this money. Why aren't you taking any of these people that you claim you want so much in the country? And why is it immediately a problem when they're in your particular area? And the answer is that these are bigoted NIMBYists. These people are white liberals by and large, and they want to open the border because NPR tells them that it's nice. It's kind to open the border. We can help people. But they don't want to do anything in their own area. They don't mind paying a little bit more taxes to help these people. They're not quite that stingy. But they don't want them housed next door to them because it'll hurt the real estate prices. That's really what it's about. Ultimately, at the end of the day, people are hardwired to think of themselves and their immediate family first. The further you get from that immediate core, the self, immediate family, the outer circle is extended family, close friends, things like that. The further you get from that, the less a person cares, unless that inner circle is taken care of first. It's innate. It's normal for human beings. And there's nothing, by the way, wrong with it. What is wrong is when these people claim that others should hazard their inner circle, themselves, their family, etc., to help other people that they themselves are not willing to help. That's what's going on here. The people in Penthouse Chicago, the people in Rich Bitch DC, which are lorded over by Muriel Bowser, the ghettos mainly being in the fringes in Virginia and Maryland, by the way, and et cetera, et cetera. These areas are bitching about this as though it's some sort of great new problem and the use of people as pawns. I would counter-argue that the Biden administration and the Obama administration before have used these people as pawns. Come into the country, just squat on the land here. We'll have sanctuary cities and we'll have, the DREAM Act and so forth. And we'll kick the can down the road. You'll remain illegally in the United States. We just won't deport you. And we'll use you as a perennial election issue. Fuck yourself. That's basically what Obama and Biden are telling these people. You can come in. We're going to use you as slaves. Go and build a pyramid or something like that. That's what's happening. I think that Martha's Vineyard needs a lot more shipments, though. Greg Abbott should team up with Ron DeSantis. Overrun them. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people. Free up every available resource. You could even have private groups doing this. You could have a carpool with illegal immigrants and stuff. You get an old bus, make it roadworthy, pack some people in and say, we're going on a road trip. Ron DeSantis will feed you and everything. We're going to bring you to the Hamptons. We're going to bring you to Long Island. You can settle on Cape Cod. It's very beautiful here, isn't it? You can settle in some area that voted for you to be here, so clearly they want you. They're not going to begrudge you now, are they? But meanwhile, they're all complaining about it. NIMBYism is considerably stupid in every possible way. It's like people rambling about climate change that have never actually planted a tree, which is most of them, by the way, just to be clear. Yolk Nick, as someone who went to school with sticks, he has never been far right. Most of the high school, I would say center with a slightly leftist take. Yeah, I mean, I went through a religious phase then, but no, I've never been on the hyper conservative side. I wasn't left either at the time, though. I was sort of, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. It didn't really matter at the time. I wasn't as into politics anyway. I did vote for Rich Tarrant over Bernie Sanders. First slot that I voted for was technically for a Republican, but it's Bernie Sanders. He's a fucking communist, so who cares? Yeah, I would say that the school was I would say that the school overall leaned slightly to the right, though. I would disagree maybe on that because there were a lot of people from like Farmville, basically, because it encompasses North Clarendon, Shrewsbury and stuff. There are people, it's outside of the core of Rutland, so to speak. It tends to be a bit more conservative. But no, I wouldn't say, no, I've never really been a conservative at all, technically. Doc Holliday, how much of your Super Chat money does YouTube steal? I'm actually not sure what the rate is. I know that Rumble takes less, though. Mark Flemister, do you think they'll arrest Dawn? If they do, what is the fallout? I'm still hopeful that they'll have the sanity not to do so. If they do, there will be considerable protesting going on. Rider of the Metal Horse on Rumble. The push against heavy metal was around that time as well, I believe. Was that part of the panic of that time? And do you believe heavy metal was rebellion against religious fervor at the time? Yes, it was tied in with the Satanic Panic, although they are semi-separate. The censorship issue encompasses the Satanic Panic as well for religious and social purposes. Heavy metal tends to be rebellious, or at least it was back then. Now it's woke, probably. I don't listen to it as much anymore. Dagnabbit 32, people claiming MAGA is communism are establishment shills. Yes, or very confused, fragile people with an extremely tenuous grasp on basic civic reality. Stuart, Sticks, have you heard of Alexis J, UK Gov report documenting 3 decades of investigations on Pakistani networks raping and trafficking English and other European and Sikh girls. It was covered up by English Labour Party. Yes, I did. Huge scandal. It's still, I mean, it's not really fully covered up because people do talk about it. It's just you don't hear about it from the BBC. Spanky, Pixel Planet California has slipped off into the ocean. See you all in Arizona Bay. And please, no more super chats. I do have to get to Dan Crenshaw, and we've already gone over an hour. Renard Muldrake, NIMBYs have enough cash to feign compassion for migrants until after the election. This may be a losing play by DeSantis in the short term. Lols, though. Yeah, that's what I would encourage them to do. Build a better homeless shelter, instead of it being, kind of drab and bare bones, build one that's kind of posh and really show DeSantis what you mean. You mean business. You take care of the poor in Martha's Vineyard. Pony up. Empty those fucking wallets. Empty those fucking bank accounts. Do it yourself. Dana N. Buses of illegals just sent to Kamala's house. Lol. Hell Radio lives. I wonder if those NIMBYs are regretting their decision on the McCoskeys now. Think the gun sales will go up around Martha's Vineyard? Wonder if they can even own guns there by now. And now we've got the final news story. I'll keep this brief. Dan Crenshaw. Well, America, this is what happens when our culture degrades boys and doesn't teach them to be men. They end up like Alex Stein, who I chatted with, of course, you'll remember not long ago. A shameless, pathetic provocateur that is so desperate for clicks, he will shame a group of veterans for their service. Just watch. He's got an edited clip here, and Stein's having a great time with this. So is the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. So am I, and everyone else who's worth their salt. For some reason, Maddox is defending Dan Crenshaw. I don't know what his problem has become. Anyway, he edits this clip, specifically with an eye to making it look like Alex Stein was defaming a bunch of veterans there. He quite clearly wasn't. The entire spiel was really about Dan Crenshaw being a goddamn hack globalist, which he is, a world police nut, which he is, an America laster, more fixated on sending billions to the Ukrainians than doing anything for the American public, which he is, being a sellout on guns, which he is. Dan Crenshaw is a moron. He's just like Mike Pence. He claims to be MAGA, but he's clearly not. He's a missing link goddamn Republican. He's like 90% neocon on any meaningful issue. He's 100% neocon. Why the fuck even vote for him? Because he happens to be a veteran with one eye, so he kind of looks vaguely cool at times. That's basically why he was voted for. It's funny, Stein spent the better part of half a minute there just ridiculing his height because Crenshaw, I think, called Alex Stein short, and he looks like he's about half a foot taller than Crenshaw. Now I'm thinking to myself, how tall is Crenshaw? Is he a manlet? Is he like 5'6" or something like that? How tall is Alex Stein? Like, is it like Ramsey Paul, who I didn't know was fucking 6'3", by the way? It's like basketball tall. I didn't know that. I thought he was of average height. Is this like an optical illusion where Alex Stein is just really tall and I didn't realize it? Like, I find out that there are all these political commentators and comedians and they all have to be taller than I am. Am I the shorty of the group at some point? I've got to ask people their height more often, apparently. So Stein, he trolled him, walking down the street, calling him a warmonger, and the Ukrainian firster, which he is, and shit like that. And, Dan Crenshaw not only tried to grab his phone away from him, apparently his staff attempted to attack one of Stein's people there. I guess they assaulted his cameraman at one point or something like that before this. Crenshaw gets owned over and over. He's getting ratioed too, by the way, which is not a surprise because Dan Crenshaw doesn't give a fucking shit about the United States. He supports other countries, probably getting money from them. Yeah, Yolk Nick. No, I'm not. I don't think 5'8" is manlet. I'm wondering if he's like 5'2" or something like that. Bendy Trees. I'm 5'7", fairly tall for a chick. It's them Slav genetics. Yeah, I'm 6'2". I didn't realize Ramsey Paul is an inch taller than I am, and now I'm wondering what about Alex Stein's height. Like, is he like secretly 6'4" or something? Crenshaw is 5'8", 1 inch taller than I am. Okay, so it is an illusion. Alex Stein is just like 6 foot or more. Okay, so Crenshaw is not actually a shorty. He's not actually a midget. He's just a mental midget. That's not a surprise to me, though. Crenshaw has always been like that. He's been balls to the wall screwed up since he took office. He MAGAs it up when he's running. Then when he gets in there, like the first thing he wants to do is send your money overseas. Anyway, how many people are watching, by the way? Yeah, there's like 5,500 people watching. It's funny because that goofy commie and his fans were rambling about him being superior for having 500 people watching him on a stream once. Or getting like 1,000 people on Twitch. Very impressive on Twitch. Dude, if you can get more than 10 people to watch something on Twitch, it's probably because you're a sellout, just saying. We've just got to call a spade at some point with Twitch as a site. After their refusal to unban me based on a premise entirely different from the initial premise for banning me. Yeah. By the way, yes, it is Pixel Planet story time today. There is a link in the description on both platforms, as well as pinned at the top of chat if you're watching on YouTube. You should take Pixel Planet. You go on there. We've liberated Greece. We've taken over what used to be Turkey. The Armenians, Georgians, and Kurds have their land. We've backed off on their borders and helped them. And now we're moving into the Levant. But throughout the afternoon and evening, there will be incursions by Ottomans. It's inevitable. They were doing it a little bit earlier. We don't know where they will strike. Cyprus is usually a target. Constantinople is usually a target. We drove them back. It took like 2 hours to clean everything up last night. And it was already being cleaned up by the time I went to bed. And I stayed up a little bit late because I had insomnia. But yeah. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline now. I will be on Pixel Planet throughout the evening. Don't worry. I'll be helping Pixel in Lebanon and Syria. We are expanding, by the way. It'll be a fun time had by all. That's about all. Peace out.